Hey guys, it's John here in my living room enjoying a lovely mug of coffee. I do hope that you are having a wonderful day today. I wanted to hop on and ask you a question. Is it loving to scare people to Jesus? I get these comments, especially on the videos I did on Doreen Virtue on my other channel, about how it is the most loving thing to do to get people to come to Jesus. But how do they get people to come to Jesus? They get the people to come to Jesus by scaring them, telling them they're going to burn in hell, telling them that they're doing the devil's work, telling them that their methods of spirituality, divination, cards, readers, all those things are evil and wrong, and they're going to lead them off into hell. This idea of scaring people to Jesus has become a very big topic in the world right now because fear tactics sell. You don't hear a lot of people right now talking about the rapture as much as they used to just a little while ago. And it's fascinating to me that there's not that much talk about that rapture thing anymore. But I think the reason there's not that much talk about the rapture anymore is because it's been so proven to be a fear-based tactic to sway people to Jesus that people are just not buying it anymore. People open the Bible and they look for it and they can't find it. Well, the reason they can't find it in the Bible is because it was invented in 1830 by Minister Darby. We have billions and billions of people on the earth. And the rapture says only 144,000 of them are going to make it through. I find it particularly ironic that 144 is gross because I think the concept of only 144,000 people of the billions and billions of people on this earth are going to make it, I think it's completely gross. I think that's terrible. That's a horrible thing. And what the fear-based teachings of the rapture are, and Catholicism does not preach the rapture or believe in the rapture. That is a different Christian belief. It's not in the Catholic Church. When you look at it from the perspective of why would they come up with that idea? Because it's fear-based. To be one of the 144,000, you've got to live into the Christian doctrines. That's fear-based. When you look at the people who are then saying, oh, that thing you have in your house right now, it's idolatry and it's against Jesus, you're wrong. You're going to go to hell for this. So they scare you into believing. I'm sitting here in my house right now and looking behind my camera. I see an Egyptian statue head. I see a pyramid. I see a Buddha. I see a Hindu Swami meditating. These are all statues and things that I have on my mantle over here. Christians don't like my stuff. I think they're beautiful. I got them on my world travels. I got them when I was over in those countries exploring beautiful people in beautiful countries. But is it right for those people who I met in those countries to be told that they're going to burn in hell or that they are wrong unless they take Jesus as their savior? See, I don't think it's loving to scare people. I don't think it's loving to convince people that they are going to burn in hell because they don't believe as I do, whereas you do, whereas they do. I don't think Jesus, and I'm using the word Jesus in this video because that is the modern version of the name. I usually call him Yeshua, but I'm using that name because I'm talking about the doctrines of fear. I'm talking about the idea that I'm scaring people to Christianity, this hierarchical structure of a Messiah. And greater works than I have done you will do is what he said. He says, I leave you one commandment, love one another. Well, the idea of fear-based teachings or telling people that they're going to go to hell is not loving one another. In my opinion, what it is it's scaring people. And though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil. Well, if that's the case, and someone is coming and scaring you with evils, then there's nothing to fear. Bible says so. If they're coming and scaring you into their belief, they have to be one doing their devil's work, because the fear would be the tool of their devil. And so it's a massive contradiction to what they're claiming to be. They like to use analogies like, if a child's walking in the street, don't you think as a loving parent would go get the child out of the traffic? And they use that as their analogy. Well, I don't believe I'm an unknowing child, and I don't believe that there is an external God who has to protect me from fear-based things. I think we have natural primal instincts, and we are protecting our children out of love, absolutely. But I don't think I'm saying, don't go over there or you'll burn in a hell. That there is no proof at all that happens. It's so interesting to me. When I was doing Renaissance festivals, there was a family that were very very much your classic, for lack of a better word, hippie family. They were living in a school bus. They had all these little children, and I was walking along, and as I walked past their bus, I looked up, and one of their little kids was walking on the roof of the bus. And I said, your son's on the roof. And he said, yeah, if he falls, he'll learn. And those kids grew up to be tough and cool and just free thinkers because they weren't limited and they were given the opportunity to learn. And I'm not saying send your kid into traffic, but I'm also not saying that God is my parent who is subjugating my life or telling me what I have to believe. When I hear one of the former New Age gurus telling everyone to throw away all the New Age stuff she made millions of dollars selling and is living in the house that those New Age products paid for, telling you now to throw them all away, and promoting new ideas, technically old ideas. I think it's getting lost in fears and anxieties. Prior to her conversion, she used to talk about love and angels and beautiful and creating a loving world. And now she talks about fear and anxiety and you're going to burn in hell. Get this stuff out of your house, or you're insulting God. You're living into idolatry and it's just fear-based teachings. Is it loving? Well, think about what I just said. She used to say love and compassion and love one another and angels. Now she's saying fear and dogma and get the stuff out of your house, you're going to burn in hell. You can see and feel the physicality of it. Love is up and bright. Fear, dogma, get your stuff out of your house, you're horrible, you're going to burn in hell. It's heavy and low, right? Now, if you are a person who believes in the feeling of love being light or a vibration that is lighter, then the teachings of fear to scare people to belief has to be of a quote-unquote lower vibration. It has to be of fear and anxiety. It has to be of the one thing that the Bible says that you shouldn't fear, which is evil. Fear no evil. Fear no evil. So fear no evil, which means there's nothing to be afraid of. But if they're pitching fear and if they're pitching anxiety and they're telling you, and you're afraid you're going to burn in hell because of what you've been taught, then you have to realize that what you've been taught is not of God. It's not love. It's fear and anxiety. It's recruitment. It's putting you into a locked position to say you have to believe this certain thing or there will be a punishment. And I believe in a loving God. And I have been living this way for over 20 years. And my world has been beautiful and I've done amazing, incredible things. I don't believe in a fear-based God at all. I believe when you open the Bible and you look at it, the first thing you should do is put on your love goggles. Read the loving parts. That's the part of God. the fear-based parts of the mind of man trying to control God. And I don't mean control God himself or herself or itself. They're trying to grab control of God. It's about the quest for power. Our religion says this. You have to come to us, religion. I'm going to draw you into this religion. It's no big mistake that the Catholic Church owns millions and billions and billions and billions, trillions probably, of real estate all over the world, right? I grew up in a beach resort, and they had a mansion on the beach. Now they have a house that's a block away from the beach. That house in that beach resort is easily a $3 million house. If their idea is that we should just love one another, why do they need so much gold in the building? Why do they need to have in my town, my priest had a BMW. Why does he need the BMW? Right? The idea of this structure being loving and yet using fear. I remember when I was 8 years old, my brother did not want to go to church one Sunday, and he took me to a putt-putt golf course. And we played putt-putt golf, and we ate ice cream, and we laughed, and we joked, and we had a good time. And he did his famous little trick. He swung by the mass during the service, snuck in the back door, and grabbed the weekly bulletin so that he could come home with a weekly bulletin to say, yes, he was there. Following week, I was 8 years old. Following week, I'm in the choir loft with my mother, because she was the organist and the choir director and head of liturgical doctrine. My mom was the church. And the priest does a sermon on mortal sin. And in his speech, he says, knowingly missing Mass is a mortal sin. Think about that for a second. If I knowingly miss church, I am doomed to hell. That's what that means. Mortal sin. You are going to hell. As an 8-year-old hearing this, it terrified me. It terrified me. Here I am, an 8-year-old kid who went and had a beautiful, loving day with his brother, ate ice cream, played putt-putt golf, had a wonderful, joyful, loving time with my brother. And here I am being told that all of that was wrong. That I'm going to burn in hell because I did that. Doesn't sound too loving to me. Doesn't sound like I should be in any way, shape, or form doing loving things in the world, or being loving with my brother, or going out and doing joyful things in the life. It just tells me that I'm wrong for not doing exactly what they say I should do. And I think it's wrong to scare people into belief. And I think it's really wrong to scare an 8-year-old that way. I was weeping and wailing, crying, terrified. I was going to burn in hell. I was 8. What did I do in 8 years to deserve being burning in hell? Nothing. I think it's completely wrong to scare people to your belief. I think it's even more wrong to use that belief to live a lavish lifestyle. And I think it's even more wrong to take that lavish lifestyle and not truly live into what you believe. My hometown, Rehoboth Beach, known as the nation's gay summer capital. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen priests come out of gay bars with their boyfriends. I've seen it multiple times. That's just hypocrisy. But they're living a block from the beach, driving their BMW, hanging out with their boyfriends in the gay bars, right? To me, it's just literally hypocrisy. So why is it hypocrisy? Because it's a power trip. I'm creating a lifestyle where I am empowered. When I was a kid, we had a priest in our parish who was my mom's friend, and pardon my French, but he was an absolute jackass. You know, we would walk up to him and he'd say, "Hello, Jhon," and if you didn't answer fast enough, he would say, "Now ask me how I am," and you didn't even have a chance to even say it. But he had this air of power. I had gotten to the point where I was really tired of being an altar boy. And I told my mom, I said, I don't want to be an altar boy anymore. And she says, no, you have to tell the priest. I'm not going to tell him. If you want to quit, you can quit, but you have to tell the priest. So I go to the priest and I say, I don't want to be an altar boy anymore. And he said, the hell if I'm going to let you quit. That had nothing to do with what I wanted. That had everything to do with what he wanted. That had everything to do with what he decided was going to be best for me. It's not loving. It's subjugation. It's a power trip. I stopped being an altar boy. And when 18 came around and my mom said that spirituality is a personal journey, go find what you believe, I left. I used to still go back to churches for weddings, funerals, and things of that nature. But I remember the moment in my aunt's funeral where I was sitting there in the congregation, and the priest came up and said, at this time, we'd like to offer all practicing Catholics communion. If you're not a practicing Catholic, I'd like to invite you to join our faith. And I thought to myself, I wonder if Jesus would have said that. And I'm using Jesus again in that same way. And I turned to my sister. I said, do you think Jesus would have said that? And my sister looked at me and looked at her husband. And she says, Jhon just said, do you think Jesus would have said that? And he turned to my nephew and he says, your uncle just said, do you think Jesus would have said that? And the four of us did not get up and take communion because that was the most unloving, uninclusive thing in the world. I leave you one commandment, love one another. Don't you think inviting people to share the teachings of Jesus? Right? The Eucharist in the Catholic Church is used as a way of saying, you better be good or you're not going to get the blood and body of Christ. And if you want to really get into something deep, look at their use of marriage and the Eucharist, because there are multiple times that they find ways for you not to get the Eucharist if you don't marry and have children the way they want you to. In my opinion, it's completely wrong to scare people to Jesus because it's against what Jesus himself taught. Jeshua was a man who was loving and caring and asked you to love one another. It has nothing to do with fear-based teachings and doctrines that are being brought to you by a church that was compiled over 300 years after he lived. And that's my thought on this. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.